and today we are going to be making a vegetable frittata. It's a nice, healthy alternative to an omelet. It's a big, egg dish that's baked in a cast iron pan, and I'm going to show you how to make it. So first we're going to start off by chopping through our vegetables. So we're going to have a half of a bell pepper, 2 Roma tomatoes, a little bit of onion, about a third of a cup of spinach and arugula, and a quarter cup of cilantro, or coriander, or dhania. So, we're going to start off by cutting up our bell peppers. And you want to cut this into relatively small chunks. So just take your knife, go down. Alright. Set this side back in your thing. And as you can see, we kept the core here. And you're just going to want to, almost peel off the seeds back in there. Because these are going to be added in later for flavor. Because they have most of the flavor in the bell pepper itself. Alright, we are now going to move on to our onion and our tomatoes. So take your little tiny onion. As for the tomatoes, you're going to want to go ahead and cut the top off. And you can keep this aside because this is virtually inedible. And cut right down the middle. And then from here, cut flesh side up because the skin is kind of tough. See how my knife slips off? So if you cut from here, and it may look like a lot, but it's going to shrink down while it cooks. Now we move on to our dhania, coriander. And you're going to want to put this into a little tiny fist, almost like a ball in your hand. So that stays together. Then take your knife and cut it into tiny little segments. Finally, we move on to our spinach. Alright, you just want to take a little bit of a chop in there, not too much, keep them nice and big. Alright, so now we move on to our egg mixture, now that the vegetables are ready. Here I have 4 whole eggs in a large size. As you can see, those are white in there. And I have 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, which is like oregano, basil, all that, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 2 teaspoons of, salt. So this is also mixed in with 1/2 cup of whole milk. Now we're going to start off by pouring our eggs in there and giving them a really harsh whip, which means we're going to mix them together really nicely until they get frothy. Alright, as you can see, there's a few bubbles forming on top. Then we pour in our milk and whip it again. Okay. The mix is ready, the vegetables are ready, we will now move on to the stove. Okay, we're going to move on to the heating stage, where we cook the frittata. So here I have an about 8-inch cast iron skillet that's been greased down with butter, and it's been preheating at medium heat for about a minute or 2, so it's nice and a little bit hot. We have our egg mixture and we have our vegetables. Now, we're going to start off by directly pouring in our egg mixture. And sometimes you would saute your vegetables before doing this, except in a frittata. I like to start off by letting my egg mixture cook for a while, and then just putting those in versus sauteing them at first, because it allows them to have a little bit more of a crisp texture in the pan. Now you're going to let this cook for about 1 to 2 minutes until it's a little bit bubbly, and then you're going to add all your vegetables and put it in the oven. Okay, the frittata's been cooking for about 1 3/4 minutes, and as you can see, there's a little bubble forming over here, and the edges are turning a little bit of a lighter yellow color. I've started preheating my oven to 350 degrees for later, but for now, we're going to start adding our vegetables. So you're going to start off by adding the heaviest thing first, the tomatoes, and you don't have to use all these to your taste, just add enough that you think you need. Move on to the bell pepper. As you can see, we're doing the heavier vegetables first. And then you're going to want to add your spinach and arugula. And if you feel that you need to use a spatula, that's completely fine. And this is gonna shrink up, even though it may look like a lot. And then you're gonna want to finally add your cilantro and sprinkle that around. And again, this may not sink quite yet. And this does seem like a lot of vegetables, but they will shrink and they will disappear into the egg mixture. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and place this into our oven. And it doesn't have to be fully preheated, just to the point where it'll still be hot enough. Grab your pan. And you're gonna let it bake there for about 4 to 5 minutes, or until you see that the eggs have set up on top. And you could stick a fork through it and it'll come out clean, just like a cake. Yeah, don't forget to turn off the burner. Alright, our frittata has been baking for about 7 minutes, which is 2 minutes longer than the regular time, except that's fine, because you can always test it with a knife. So we're gonna go ahead and take it out. Should have a nice caramelized bottom. As you can see, the eggs have set pretty well, except they're still nice and soft. So I'm going to go ahead and cut. There we are. And as you can see, the bottom has turned nice and brown. Now, the frittata isn't just the way it is now. You can add extra things to it. So I'm gonna add a little bit of a moule cheese, which is this nice kind of tangy cheese that we have. You can buy it at like an Indian store or an Oriental market. And you can put this on top before putting it in the oven and bake it on top, which will make a nice crust. But I kind of like this better because the flavor is a little bit fresher. Here it is, my vegetable frittata.